Welcome to r/Am I the A-hole, where OP tells his poor friend that he's the one with privilege. What? And stick around for more drama-filled Am I the A-holes, such as OP bullying the police and OP asking his friend if she's pregnant. Am I the a-hole for telling my poor friend that he's actually the privileged one now? One of my very close friends, Nathan, 29 male, and I, 28 male, met during our first post-college job at a prestigious finance firm. We immediately bonded over the long work hours, crappy middle management, and general soul-sucking nature of making PowerPoint slides and Excel sheets all day. For the next few years, a lot of our friendship revolved around us talking about work and how much we hated it. A few years ago, I decided that I just couldn't take the corporate grind anymore, and I quit my job to move into the nonprofit world. While I now certainly make less than I would have at my old job, I am exponentially happier, healthier, and absolutely love the work that I do. I also still make a very good salary, $80,000 a year, which I feel is more than enough money for me and my needs. Nathan has been ambitiously climbing the corporate ladder and recently became a VP at his firm. He makes well over $300,000 a year. Nathan grew up in a very poor family, and his relatives are still financially unstable and often ask him for money. I, on the other hand, grew up in a comfortable, upper-middle-class suburb with parents who have always been financially stable. They're not millionaires, but if anything ever happened to me, they could and would help me until I could go back on my feet. Nathan does not have that privilege. I recently got offered my dream job where I would be making slightly less money than I am now, $75,000 a year. Despite the money, I am genuinely giddy about this job prospect and was pumped to tell my friends. However, when I told Nathan, his response was, "I'm glad you have the financial privilege to take a pay cut." Not, "Wow, OP, I know you've really wanted this job for months now and have told me all about how excited you are about it. Congratulations," or anything along those lines. I'll admit that I snapped back at him and told him that he makes triple the amount of money that I do and that at some point he needs to realize he's now got privileges of his own instead of pointing out mine. The conversation got a bit heated and we agreed to hang up and cool off before talking it over later. Now I'm wondering if I should apologize to Nathan for what I said or if I should stand my ground. I'm feeling angry and a bit defensive, which I realize is exactly the reaction that a spoiled rich kid would have. However, I also do think it was a bit mean of him to say that at the exact moment when I was so excited. And while generational wealth does give privileges that income alone does not, he literally does make over triple the amount of money that I now make. So it seems a tiny bit hypocritical for him to be calling me privileged. This one has an update. Before I get in the update, just kind of general opinions about when I first read this. You could make arguments on both sides about one person being the a-hole or the other. Clearly what Nathan said was just uncalled for. And I do think OP is right. He should have just in the moment been happy for his friend. But on the other side, OP doesn't know what it was like for Nathan growing up in a non-upper middle class family that didn't have financial problems. And this is coming from somebody who grew up in upper middle class and have heard stories from my friends about the financial instability that they had to go through when they were kids. No matter how much you hear about it, I will never truly be able to experience the emotions and negative experiences that brought on those people. So I guess everyone sucks here. I also just think it doesn't matter. What matters is Nathan a friend that you want to keep forever? Because if that's the case, I definitely think it's worth it just to take the high ground and be like, hey, I was the a-hole. Let's reconvene. The update. Nathan's been my buddy for years through thick and thin, and so I called him back up to apologize. I mentioned that I really didn't know what his experience had been like and that I was proud of him for all he's accomplished and that I just felt a little hurt and unsupported when he called out my privilege from the get-go instead of just being happy for me. I felt like he was minimizing my success, but it turns out he's just been having a tough time at work and didn't respond in the best way to my job news. He apologized too, and we had a really nice conversation. I think that since we started our careers at the same place and time, it's easy for us to compare ourselves, and we're both guilty of competitive comparison game with each other. Anyway, it's all good now, and I think we've opened up a good dialogue where I can learn more about my buddy's past and what it's been like for him and try to support him with some of the mental struggles of coming from poverty. Also, Nathan and I will be going to a baseball game next week, and he offered to buy the tickets because he's loaded, and I'm a non-profit schlub. Both his words, both said with love. All right, cool. I'm glad it all worked out. Clearly, this was a good enough friend to keep around. Am I the a-hole for asking my friend if she's pregnant? My, male 25, friend, female 23, usually goes to the gym regularly and parties a lot. Lately, I've noticed that she stopped drinking and smoking. She stopped heavy lifting and going to the gym as regularly as she used to. On top of that, lately she'll often excuse herself to go to the toilet, presumably to throw up, and I've noticed she got a bit thicker and watery. Don't get me wrong, I'm not jabbing her looks, it's just something I've noticed. Her chest is also noticeably grown. We were out the other week and I noticed she didn't even touch her Red Bull, so I pulled her to the side to have a private conversation and asked her if she was pregnant. She immediately flipped out and denied it. Right after that, she went home and I covered for her when the group asked me why she went home. I texted her later that same night if I had overstepped, and she simply replied, "You literally called me fat douchebag." I never did such a thing, but I simply let her be instead of arguing. Today, another friend told me she indeed is pregnant, and I don't know what to make of her reaction towards me when I asked her in a 4-eye conversation. Edit, for those curious, when I asked her, I verbatim said, "I noticed you've been excusing yourself pretty often lately and are avoiding some things. Could it be that you are pregnant?" This one's hard because I don't think OP is being malicious at all, or his intentions are malicious, but he did everything wrong here. So like, unintentionally, you're the a-hole? Is that a thing? Probably not. At the end of the day, it's not really your business. It doesn't sound like she had a spouse or anything like that, so sharing something like that is up to their discretion on their own time. They'll bring it up with you when they feel comfortable. You don't want to be that guy. I also think your verbatim asking them if they're pregnant was not good at all. You did not tee that up well. You gotta like literally lead with like, "Hey, I haven't noticed any body changes, but I did notice you're not drinking alcohol, you're not smoking, I don't see you at the gym, you excuse yourself from the table." That just led me to the conclusion that you're maybe pregnant. Like, if you're going to ask, which you shouldn't, that's the way. So yeah, unintentionally the a-hole, once again, making up my own acronyms because I can. But I want to know what you think in the comments below about this post or any other post in my videos. And hey, if you're still here watching the video, enjoying the video, hit that subscribe button so you can see my videos every single week. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to split my jackpot win with my husband's friend? My female 30 played the lottery for the first time last year when everyone was talking about the Powerball jackpot. Since then, I've played casually, only spending a few dollars a week. I occasionally won a few bucks and never really expected to win anything big, but it was nice to dream as I had a ton of debt and have been struggling a lot. Fast forward to a few months ago, I checked the winning numbers one night against my ticket and it matched with my numbers perfectly. Initially, I didn't believe it and thought there had to be a mistake, so I told my husband, male 35, and we checked it like a dozen times, and I was right. We won. It's life-changing, multi-generational FU money. We instantly agreed to keep the news to ourselves and wait a few months before we did anything. The past few months have been an incredible high, filled with disbelief, and though it's been difficult, we have managed not to make any large purchases or change our lifestyle. We fantasize about what to do with our money, but the time to claim is drawing near, so we have begun having more practical decisions about how to claim it and what to do with it. While discussing, my husband Adam brought up that he thinks it would be a good idea to split the money with his best friend slash business partner, Tim. Tim and Adam have been friends since they were in middle school and have done everything together ever since. Together, they've started businesses, worked together, invested money, moved to the same town, and have often dreamt about our families making it big together. Since we have to take risks together and are so close, Adam feels it's fair to give them 1/3 of the cash prize so that 1, we are not going on this journey to a new life alone. 2, it's suspicious to make all this money suddenly and more easily explained if Tim makes money as well since we do everything together. I, however, feel it's risky to share that we have come into this money with them because Tim's family tends to be more flashy and like showing off, and I don't fully trust that they will keep it quiet or modest enough to not raise suspicion. This is important because I've seen community members harass and attack people with far less money just because they feel entitled. This could jeopardize our safety, so I want to avoid it if at all possible. Also, I'm not really comfortable with his plan to add Tim and his wife as members of our LLC to claim the prize because I think it could have them feeling entitled to a bigger chunk or take the money. Adam thinks I'm being selfish and he won't enjoy our newfound wealth if his friend isn't living the same lifestyle, but I think we could find a way to later give them some money after figuring out a way to explain how we came into money without telling them we won the lottery. I'm rolling with not the a-hole. Further, I think it's so unbelievably suspect that your husband wants to share the money. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a terrible person, but if I came into like a large sum of money, I wouldn't want to just fork over some of it to my friends. Like, there's ways to keep it secret without giving it to other people. It just doesn't really make a ton of sense in my head. Also, as somebody with an LLC, terrible idea to add them on as joint owners because yeah, I think they would have rights to bigger chunks of the money. I think there needs to be some lawyers involved here, some financial advice that is obviously more sound than some guy on YouTube. But from what I know, this is not a great idea. I don't think OP's being selfish for wanting to keep everything in-house and prioritizing their safety. I don't know why why, but it just rubs me very wrong that the husband is so upset over this. There are ways to maintain your wealth and share it without actually actively like giving them a huge chunk of ownership. But that raises a good question. If you won the lottery, would you give your best friend a part of it? Definitely let me know in the comments below. Am I the a-hole for bullying the police into pressing charges against a bunch of kids? This past winter, I had a pool installed at my house. About a month ago, I had to travel for work and was gone for about 2 weeks. I came back to find my backyard trashed, and it seems someone had a pool party while I was gone. The locks on my gates were broken, but luckily no one broke into my house. I checked my security cameras and saw at least 20 teens having an all-day party that lasted late into the night. I did not give permission for anybody to be at my house, so I was mad. My cameras are HD, so their faces were clearly visible, and I recognized some of the neighborhood. I went to the police and submitted a copy of the recordings and tried to file a report. The cops did their best to try to talk me out of it, but I pressed them until they relented and took a report. Weeks passed by and I heard nothing, so I called them to find out nothing has been done. I got angry and threatened to sue unless they got off their behinds and enforced the laws. I should point out that I live in a town of about 2,000 people and nothing ever happens here. The cops are not understaffed or too busy on other cases. I also know I probably can't sue the cops into doing their jobs, but I lose nothing by threatening a lawsuit, and I was mad at the time. Finally, they got some of the teens seen on my security video, but again, they tried to talk me out of pressing charges. I was adamant and insist they file charges. When my girlfriend found out about the situation, she said I should have let it go, and we got into an argument about it. My own mother thinks I'm being a bully by forcing the cops to file charges against some teens who just wanted to throw a party. Virtually everyone I know is making me out to be some grumpy guy with a score to settle, and I kid you not, everyone in my life is trying to talk me out of it. They're worried about me destroying these teens' future over a pool party. I don't know when it became okay to break into somebody's property. Right now, it feels like it's me against the entire world. In my opinion, not the a-hole. OP is fully in their rights to press or not press charges as they see fit. It might be a little bit of a crappy move to potentially ruin these kids' futures with a charge, but they're in their full right to do so. Yeah, kids are stupid, but at the end of the day, they chose to do that. I do think OP maybe could have taken an extra step and gone and found the kids, found their parents, presented it to them, and give them the opportunity to not press charges. Maybe just be like, hey, pay for damages and make your kid mow my lawn, do my landscaping, something like that. Because I do think like a kid will learn better from that and not mess up their future. But who knows? Maybe their parents are crappy, especially from this update. I'm so glad I posted my situation here. Many of you pointed out that the cops might know the kids, so that's why they're dragging the case. I never thought of that because I've only lived here for 2 years. I called my buddy who grew up and still lives here, so I invited him to dinner tonight. I asked him about my situation and showed him my security video. He immediately said that about half of the high school senior class was in the video. His kids are in the same high school, and he recognized the daughter and niece of the mayor. He also told me that he thinks a couple of the kids belong to the local prominent families, one of which own one of the local grocery stores. We talked about it, and I decided to take your advice and drop my complaint in exchange for the parents paying for the damages. I'll call the cops tomorrow about it. There is a post below about someone's uncle living in Oklahoma who made a complaint and subsequently got pulled over repeatedly for phantom traffic violations. That really opened my eyes, and I definitely do not want that to happen to me. Yeah, catch me dead if I'm ever living in a small town. I hate stupid stuff like this. Good on OP to kind of meet in the middle, be like, hey, I want something to be done, but I don't necessarily have to press charges. A lot of it seemed also maybe a little bit selfish, not in a bad way. I want to know what you guys think in the comments below about this as well as the update. That's all the Am I the A-hole posts I had for you today. Make sure to subscribe. Go watch another one of my Am I the A-hole videos here. Go watch my podcast here. I will see you guys next week.